The fire stairs we're creating, we're going to actually be stealing the idea off of Black Magic Craft, because I recently watched it and he made fire steps or fire stairs out of Jenga. Jenga, that's right. Well, knock off Jenga from the dollar stores. I got Shelly, my wife, to go and look, and she found these two at the local dollar store. So I figured, hey, we'll use these. They're a little different size. Glue these together, and we are going to create some stairs. These are the different sizes that you can get. There's this size, and then you got the smaller size. What I want to do is build it so that they can see over the trenches. I got these separated, so the height that I want to make it, miniatures that are going to be 28 millimeter, maybe heroic scale, I don't know. It's Age of Sigmar or it's Warhammer 40K. I think it's a Nurgle. I don't know, it's been a while. So don't kill me in the comments, please. So that even 28 millimeter can just take them anywhere and shoot. I lift their head up just high enough so that they can see above the trenches. This trench is just, it's a square block of mud, part of no man's land. But you can see there, I just wanted to do it so that it is modular. You can move no man's land anywhere. You can use this for just a block that they dig out. It's totally up to the person playing the game and what kind of game they're playing. But I still want it to be so that if we're playing it this way and they go up, that they can definitely see. With the bigger ones, you could put two miniatures on them. You could pretty much put two with that kind of base. That's pretty much the start of making the fire stairs. We're going to glue these together, but before we do that, what we have to do is we're going to have to do some sanding. My portable sander, and I'm going to sand all the blocks. I'm just turning it on. If you don't have a sander, you can use sandpaper, you know, or just rocks or anything, just to rough up the surface, a knife or something, just so that it'll, when they put the glue on it and they put them together, it's going to bond and hold together. Sanding montage. Now that all the blocks are sanded, I kind of designed it a little bit more differently than what I originally did, and I'm going to show you how it's different. But before we do that, you want to make sure that you have some a little bit of water. Carpenter's glue. You don't have to have this one. You can even use like PVA glue if you want, but carpenter's glue is a little thicker. It'll hold a little better because it is meant for wood. Originally, I was just going to have them stacked up like 2 and 2, but now there is a step. Haha, see? A miniature can stand there, and it is high enough so that you can see over top. And again, based on this miniature 28 millimeters. I did the same thing, a little bit different design I'll show you, but let's start off with this one. But what you want the water for is with the wood. Then I'll take my carpenter's glue, a little bit. You only need a little bit. Grab the second one and put it together and square it up. Now, I'm not exactly worried about how square and even these are. You want to get them as close as you can. The reason why, simply because, you know, they're building this during wartime with what materials that they have that's on hand right now, and there's bullets and explosions going off constantly. You got to be careful. Bullets and everything. So that's 3 blocks together so far. We're going to wet it and put one more. When you wet the wood, you don't want to overdo it so that when you put the glue onto it, it's just going to run off it. You don't want that. Oh, paper towel is good to have just to clean your hand, your finger off. Glue goes a long way. And I'm only putting it on the first 2 blocks, the glue. I'm not trying to avoid this part because that's the step, or it's going to be the stairs. Throw a little bit of glue there. You can wet both pieces of wood, but it's very necessary. But you can, when I say both pieces, like the wood that got the glue on it and the wood that's going to be sandwiched together. So again, just piecing that together roughly, and then I'm going to lay it on top again, make a little bit of water, a little bit of glue. Because this is not as wide as the 2 of them together, I fleshed up to this side. But that's how you make the fire step. It's just a little bit different design because it's bigger. It can hold 2 miniatures. But instead of using 4 blocks on the bottom, we're only using 3 blocks on the bottom. So that's the 3 blocks on the bottom. I am not laying them this way, which is like the height or the width is thicker. I'm laying them this way. The faces are going to be the side, and I'm only putting glue on the 2 of them. Now we're going to leave these dry until we start with the next step. The reason why I'm not putting another piece onto this, because if I do add more, it's going to stick out so far that when you're walking through the trenches. Puppy pads, by the way, are great to help protect your surfaces. But if you add another one to it like so, it makes it a lot more narrow. They can still stand on it, which makes it pretty cool. It's more playable. This is kind of one of them circumstances where it's like, you know what, I'd rather it look better doing it this way than being playable. For comparison, we'll show you the other one. And with this one, I was able to add two, which holds the miniature on because there's still quite a bit of room. Now that we have all of the carpenter's glue was dry onto the Jenga blocks, the two different sizes, we're going to dress them, and then before we paint them, various materials that we're going to be using here for doing the dressing. Paddle pop sticks, or coffee stir sticks we call them here in Canada. I got them from like the local dollar store. These are the same things, but I broke them up because we're going to need some smaller section ones too as well. I didn't use a saw to cut these all nice and neat. I broke them pretty simple. We're just going to use a pair of snips, a little shorter than half the length of the stick. Eyeball, half the length, no measurements needed. Usually when you snip, you're gonna have things fly all over the place, but I just have a good grip onto it, and I just bend it, and it breaks it in two. Now, you don't necessarily need to use Jenga blocks. If you have foam, you can always just use foam in that shape, or anything that is rigid enough to keep a shape and is strong, just for the understructure, so you can glue the popsicle sticks. Just a little tiny bit of glue. Now, there's a couple of things you can do here to make this look more evenly spaced out, I should say. They're going to be put together, but the thing is, if you just go across there, you're going to end up cutting, or it's going to be uneven or that. So what I'd like to do, it's still going to be uneven regardless, but what I'd like to do is I start off with putting two on each side, and the rounded ends are above because I'm going to be cutting them off, obviously. Push it up, a little bit of glue, then roughly put that, try to get it close enough into the middle, and then we're just going to build up each of the sides here. So the only thing I don't like about hot glue is the stringies left behind. What we do is we just take a heat gun and go over it afterwards, and it'll just get rid of all the stringiness. With this, you have to keep in mind too, as well, as these are fire stairs for soldiers to be able to stand on and look out past the trenches and to shoot too as well. So when they're building these, it's in the time of war. They're not being built very nicely. They're just rushed and put together as fast as possible. I left a space a little bit. You can keep a gap like that if you want, but what I like to do now is I'm going to take one of my matchsticks, fill it in there, just to fill that gap in. You can leave the gap, it looks okay. Again, these are built in a rush because there's bullets whizzing over their head, explosions going off. They're not going to be pretty. That fills that part in. We're going to leave this dry, and we're going to put ones up there too, ones this way too. So while that is drying, we're just going to keep continuing on here then. Next thing we're going to do after they are glued, now I just glued them in different directions just so it makes it easier for when I'm going to cut it, which is now. And you can see there, again, there was another little space, so I just put a not a toothpick, a matchstick to fill it in. So to cut it, I'm just going to flip it over. And again, I'm not squeezing down, applying a lot of strength. I'm just holding it gently while bracing my finger, and then I'm just bending. It just makes it so much easier to cut this way, and nothing goes flying. Smaller one, the popsicle sticks are running vertical. Wider ones are running horizontal. Now what we're going to do is we're going to continue adding the popsicle sticks to the back of this one and to the back of this one, running the same way. These fire stairs that are steps that I'm making, I can't say that it was my idea on how to construct these. I modified slightly because the credit goes to Black Magic Craft. This is where they have a YouTube channel. He's awesome. Jeremy's awesome for Black Magic Craft. Go check him out on YouTube. I just changed the design slightly, but for the most part, this is all Jeremy's idea. And incredible crafter. Like, his builds are phenomenal. His videos are awesome too as well. I really, really like them, and I thoroughly suggest you go and check them out. When I say thoroughly, I mean thoroughly watch his videos, because he has so much information in Black Magic Craft, which is awesome. Another one I just want to, it's more D&D style, but he's doing cyberpunk in that now too. It's Wyloch Armory. Another great crafter. There's more crafters out there that are incredible. I like to follow. Comment below and let me know who you like to follow for crafting. If you have anybody else that you want me to check out, by all means, drop me a comment into the comment section. Say, hey, you should check out this person on YouTube or Instagram or wherever it is that it's going to be, because I love checking out new things, because that's how I learn a lot. Still vertical with this way. Just remember, the small stairs, fire stairs, are vertical popsicle sticks, and the larger fire stairs is horizontal popsicle sticks. When you are cladding, I guess, or just covering it over, what I did here is I put a nice little, but a matchstick, and I glued it to the side, and I'm going to glue another matchstick to the side of the same matchstick. And the reason why is we are going to be making, like, just make the step jot out just a little bit. Remember, to make things easier for yourself is always put the popsicle sticks on the same end that you're cutting, or the stir sticks, I should say. So you're not switching the piece around so many times to cut the popsicle sticks off. So you see, it's like a little shelf that I added here just to add the 4 popsicle sticks for the stand, and that way when they are standing, just gives it a little bit more width so they can stand up. The next set that we're going to do is we are going to use a little push drill or a hand drill. And I don't know what size bit this is, but all I'm doing is I just want to show it so that there's nails. You usually would put like 2 holes, but I'm only putting 1 for each popsicle. And that way kind of signifies nail holes, but you could put 2 in each one, which would be more accurate, more realistic. Now that I got them all encased, the holes screwed in that look like the nails, not bolts. The next step would be is that we're just going to add some supports to it. It don't need supports, but it just makes it look a little bit more interesting to look at instead of just being a plain box like this. The paint job is going to save a lot. Add some reinforcement. So we're just going to take matchsticks and we're going to put them along here, 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 and 1 in the back. I've done one already just to show you, so you can see we'll put the matchsticks here and here and the back and the other side, just to add a little bit more interest to it. We're all done of the cladding or whatever on, so you can see what it all looks like. And this one, you can see what it all looks like. So, and I made more, as you can say, like I made some small ones and some big ones. So the next step we're going to do is just going to clean this all up, and we're going to get ready, and I'm going to show you how to paint these boys too. I mixed yellow, burnt umber, a little tiny bit of black with Mod Podge, and once you mix all that up with Mod Podge, the ratio was kind of like more yellow with a little bit of brown and a little less of black, and you get this kind of color. You may wonder, like, why aren't you basing it out? First, I don't want to put a base on it. I want this paint to be somewhat transparent, I guess, so you can still see the wood underneath it slightly. I've seen a lot of people using like wood stain for the stuff, which is pretty clever, because I went with the different colors such as this for all of the wood accents on the trench. I want to try to keep it the same, because they wouldn't have, I don't think they'd have different wood for like the fire steps as opposed to the wood for the trenches. It's all the same, and that's what they have. And again, I just want to give a big shout out to Black Magic Craft and Wyloch's Armory, because they inspire me so much when I'm building. And all I'm doing is going around with this mixture, the craft paint mixture, like I said. Not worried about keeping it nice and even, or keeping it nice and pretty looking, because this is going to get all like a wash on it and everything else. So this is just like the basic first step of this fire stairs or fire step. For the wash, it's the same wash that we use when we wash the terrain, and it's the exact same mixture. I just poured some into this one just to make it a little bit more easier. And once your paint is dry onto your fire stairs, we're just going to use our same chip brush. You can use a smaller one if you want, but I find bigger, it gets it done pretty quick. So you can see here, I'm just brushing it all on our, what's that word again? slather. And you want to leave it sit for a good like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just speeding this up a bit. And then you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to take a paper towel and you are going to gently dab it off so it goes into the recesses and you can take out all the other ones. And that is it for the wash. We're going to leave this dry and we'll be back. Now that the wash is dry, you can see it added a lot of dirt. I really like the way this turned out. Now, you could say that's it, I'm done, and I don't want to do anything else, because this is definitely passable, and it closely mimics the tiles that I created for the paint job. But what we're going to do is we're going to just go a little bit further, because, you know, here, we are maniacs after all, so we're not just settling for, you know, that's it. We're going to just keep going more and more. And to do that, we are going to, I mixed up some paint here for a highlight. You can use whatever color you want. But you can see here, mine's like a mustard color. And what I did is I just took yellow and burnt umber, and I had a little bit of burnt umber to the yellow and a little tiny bit of black. And that's what I got. And the color I'm talking about again is the craft paints, just so you're aware. And it was a bright yellow and cinnamon brown. So all we got to do now is we're going to do some dry brushing just to bring out all of the details, bring out all the highlights, I should say. And I'm just using this here as my old Armory painter dry brush. You can see it's very worn down, and a lot of it's pushed in the back too as well. But we're going to do some dry brushing, dab it on so I can get some paint in here. I only made a little bit because I did already paint other ones. They're off camera. This is the leftover, so I recorded this one. But again, I'm just taking some paint off. This is like a really heavy, messy dry brush, by the way. So you can see here, I'm just highlighting, and then I'm going in. It's a very heavy dry brush. I don't even know if you'd want to classify this as a dry brush, because I am technically going over it with heavy, but it is highlighting, but it's kind of a dry brush highlighting. And there my piano is done. Well, no, it's fire stairs, but it does look like a piano, I think, because if you kind of look at it this way, it's kind of like an old, really rickety old piano. It's got the keys covered over. I just noticed that, but it's pretty funny. Dry brush more, you can add more details, whatever you want, because I'm happy with this, more happy than what the other one was, but we're not done yet, because again, this is, after all, our fire stairs. I think it's it would be a fire step, but this is stairs, so I'm going to call it a fire stairs. So anyhow, we're not done yet. Just add a little bit more detail, I guess is a way to say it. These are shell casings that I made with spaghetti noodles, and all I did is I laid them out on the table and I sprayed them with Retribution Armor. That's a Citadel paint, just a gold paint. And then I sealed them, because we're going to add some blood for the blood gods. This is a Citadel paint. I really like this. And I got some PVA here to glue down the bullet casings. So the first thing we're going to do is we just got like a flat brush, dip a little bit in, and you can put as much bullet casings as you want on these or as little. And we just have to do this and wait for the glue to dry after we set them. So let's put it on the side here. And the reason why we're putting the bullet casings on the side here, because they're still giving room for the miniature to stand up evenly. But we're just doing this to make it look like there was like this all-out firefight. There's a couple ways you can do this. There's tons of tutorials out there, I'm sure, on how to make these bullet casings out of spaghetti noodles. Very easy. But in either case, what I'm going to do is just grabbing some. I cut these at various lengths because it's not specific to a type of game per se, or specifically, it's not for like a certain time era. So because of that, I'm just doing it with different sizes. So, you know, like snipers or you know, handguns, you name it. Really cool when you drop them in sometimes, they'll stand up. And you'll get ones that are way too big. If anybody has an easier way of making these, by all means, comment below and let me know, because it took a long time to make these shells. And again, they're not exactly scale size, but I'm not worried too much about if it's a scale size or not, because it's just something to add to the battlefield to make it look pretty cool. Second coat on top, you can have it watered down a bit, but I'm not doing that, and I'm just dabbing the PVA in hopes that when this will dry, it's going to not be able to be seen. You're not going to be able to see all of this white. You're going to see just the shell casings. If it's kind of shinier, that because of the PVA, we will just put a little bit of wash on it or add some more gore effects with some blood. Not going to play with them. Just going to leave it like it is. But while this is still drying and everything, we're going to do the blood for the blood gods. Now, the blood for the blood gods, there's some in here, and pretty much you can see I just added water to it to water it down so that I can do the flicking. You can put this on any way you want, really. Lots of battle going on here, and people get hit and bleeding out. Oh no! You can put different color blood too as well. Like originally I pulled out orc blood to put some orc blood on here too as well, but I decided not to, just to keep it with the red, and we're just gonna blood this one up. Just put a little bit on here. And the cool thing about this is because I put the blood on it first and this PVA dries clear, what it should do is you'll see the blood underneath it. That is it for the detail. Now, I'll be back when this is all dry and we'll take a look at it and see if we can add any more, but I think they're looking pretty darn good. And there you have it, Board Game Maniacs. That is how you build the fire steps that I'm going to be using in my trench my trench board that I am building. Hope you enjoyed this, and if you have built them, I would love to see some. So if you email boardgamemaniacs@gmail.com with the pictures of all the fire steps that you did, I'd love to see them, and I will definitely would like to create a video posting what everybody had created. Until next time, I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you in the trenches.